Welcome back. This is the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully, and joining me is the host of the new show titled The NCAA XC Show. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Gordon Mack.
Got to correct you there. It's the NCAA cross country show.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Could we redo that again? We can do it again.
We should redo
and
it. Should we
joining
start
me
the pod
now
over?
from his house in Austin, Texas, the host of the NCAA cross country show, which is garnering all sorts of acclaim from critics. It's Gordon Mack.
Yeah, check it out. Do it once a week on Tuesdays, and I'll break down the rankings, upcoming races, who I think is doing well, not well, etc. All from the comfort of my Gordon Mack studio. But yeah, it was fun. I got a little debate at the end of the episode. I kind of contemplate who would win in a fight. An actual wolf versus an actual cougar, because BYU Cougars versus the NC State Wolf Pack. I looked it up. I couldn't really get much information out of it, but I was trying to figure out, who do you think would win in a fight, a wolf or a cougar, or a wolf pack and a bunch of cougars, so they get to work in teams.
I feel like cougars have stronger base, don't they? Wolves, there's a wider range of body type with wolves. I feel like cougars, they're like middle linebackers, man.
Yeah, they're middle linebackers, but like the wolves are probably a bunch of like cornerbacks, so they got the speed.
Okay, yeah, the speed
right,
element,
and they have the agility, right, and they probably got sharper like teeth. So like they're
Do they have sharper teeth, or are you just speculating that they have sharper teeth?
I mean,
What did your research tell you?
When they go and they show their teeth, those look scary. They're like pointy. I don't know.
I mean, I think cougars are doing some damage as well too. This is good. This is good information that you cover on the
Deadliest
NCAA
animals
cross country.
We got Deadliest animals here up on the screen. This is an interesting. Did you know mosquitoes kill 1 million people a year?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Look at number 6.
Assassin bugs?
This is intense.
Kill 10,000 people. That would be a great name for a school, like athletic department.
Oh,
like the Cleveland Assassin Bug, Cleveland State Assassin Bugs or something like that.
But do you want to be associated with a thing that causes that much death? I don't know. So not listed on there was the wolves or cougars. Not listed on there. So
yeah,
maybe not that deadly. Listen, I'm not calling out the wolf community. Do not email me. Do not tell me that I'm mocking them. I don't want any blowback here. Crocodiles clocking it at 1,000.
Dude, look at number 7. Freshwater snails kill 10,000 people a year. Snails?
Yeah, that's probably some sort of.
How do snails kill people?
Probably some sort of virus that. Well, look at the notes there. There you go. D. Look at the notes. Zoom in on the notes. There. Freshwater snails do not kill humans directly. They're a vector that transmit a variety of tropical diseases. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Yeah, they're not actually like biting you and having you bleed to death. It's the transmission of disease. In any event, you can dive into all this and more on Gordon's show, the NCAA Cross Country Show, which is on Tuesday. I saw the first episode. It was good. A lot of info in there. You jam pack it with everything people need to know. If you haven't been following cross country on the college type, but want to get caught up, it's a good way to get your feet wet. If you want to do a deep dive, Gordon, you do a good job bringing people up to speed and going into depth about the races and the athletes and teams that people need to follow. So I give it a highly recommend.
Okay. I thought I was gonna get like a B-, but highly recommend is a better grade.
I didn't do a letter grade. I didn't want to go that specific yet. By week 3, I will be giving it a letter grade. So now I just wanted to go highly recommend, recommend, do not recommend, and just stay away. Like delete YouTube. Basically, would have been the last step. And I'm not.
Delete YouTube. Can you do that?
Just
delete YouTube.
If you have the app, delete the app. Basically, just so it does. Just log out so the algorithm does not send you any Gordon videos. Is basically what I'm saying. On today's show, we are going to talk about some marathon news. We have a retirement to talk about. We'll preview the Berlin Marathon, which is this Sunday. Shalane Flanagan has a big goal this fall to run a whole bunch of marathons. We'll discuss that. We'll touch on the Usain Bolt, Sha'Carri Richardson story that we didn't talk about last time. And we will finally read that email about field events that I said we're going to read last week. Well, let's start here with the retirement of a legend, Gordon. Mary Keitany of Kenya announced her retirement. Four-time New York City Marathon champion, three-time London champion, has a PB of 2:17:01, which is the world record fastest time ever in a women's only marathon race. Has announced her retirement at the age of 39. She cited health issues in her back, wasn't able to get back to 100%. So her career ends with her last race taking place in 2019 when she was still very competitive, still one of the best women in the world, and she's now decided to call it a career.
Yeah. Uh, I just, there's a lot of major marathons are kind of synonymous with her, right? You think of New York, you think of Mary Keitany. You think of London, you think of her, right? You think of all these different uh, moments in the sport of running for on the women's side of things. Mary Keitany has been one of those kind of stalwarts in that category. 217 in London is no joke. And winning 7 times in 2 majors. So it's incredible. It's hard to win a major, let alone doing it 7 times in a career. A lot of times you only have probably 2 shots every year
Mhm,
to win. And so to get it done 7 times, like it's hard to collect these titles. So for her to have 7 is definitely an impressive feat. And she has that world record for the women's only race. So
mhm,
2:17:01. You kind of wish it was either 2:17 flat or 2:16:59, but I
mhm.
digress. You feel like they could have rounded that down to 2:17 flat. No one would have noticed.
Got to lean there at the line. She's had some memorable races themselves. These weren't just victories, but I remember some of those New York performances. She went out incredibly fast and just laid down a marker on a tough course and held on. During this era of the marathon, which has been just incredibly quick, right? We're going on now basically 10 years of just one upsmanship, one after the other of this time dropping, 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 dropping. And if you take a step back, Gordon, you definitely have people who were one race wonders who ran all time performances. And you look at them and you think, well, man, at the time, we thought that person could have been an all time great because they posted this crazy time. Maybe they got second or third in a Kipchoge race and they ran a really quick time. But then the years go by and you realize, well, they didn't have the sustained level of success as somebody else. So they had that one race. That's great. They'll be on the all time list. But surely enough, other people will pass them. People like Keitany, um, left their mark in this era because not only did they run fast, but they just won so many times and they were consistent in a race where it's so hard to be consistent, right? Because it's not everybody seems to be running fast now. You look at the world records and you look just at the depth of performance, everything's dropping. The challenge is doing it for a long time and doing it in races where it results in wins. And she obviously did that, which is why she's going to like her career is going to hold up, for this generation, for the next generation. Like we're still going to be talking about Mary Keitany as having one of the best careers ever in the marathon.
Did Katani ever run like Berlin or Chicago or Boston?
She was mainly a she
Like New
mainly
York,
went back
London,
to
right?
New York. London was her main combo. I could look up see if she's got any other results from those other. I mean, she was fourth at the Olympics in 2012. I remember that they didn't name her to another Olympic team, but mostly
So
she was known for those two cities. Yeah, those two
yeah, I
events.
mean, looking at this, so you have her 7 victories, but she has 2 more runner-ups, 2 more top threes, and then 2 more top 5s. Um, but looking at her career, right, it spans from like in the marathon from 2010 to 2019.
Hmm.
She was basically exclusively going from London to New York, back to
Yeah.
London to York, New York, New York. And you see a lot of these athletes kind of pick and choose, like, this is my spring marathon, this is my fall
Uh-huh.
marathon, I ain't leaving. And I think a lot of the reasons why is once you win one, they want to keep you, so they give you a lot of money to stay, and
Mhm.
that's why we haven't seen someone like Galen Rupp do New York City, because he's like, well, Chicago got me, I'm sticking with Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Berlin, sorry, I want to run in America. So, do you think there should be like a new, a better way to get these athletes to not be so tied down to two marathons of the six majors?
Mhm. Like a cap, you can only win it 3 times, and then you gotta move on to another marathon.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, just like
It
maybe you can't do one back to back. You have to
Mhm.
do four before you do go back to repeat. Or
It
something
it
like
would be interesting because they have entered into this agreement. They're under this umbrella World Marathon Majors. Now each of them operates independently. They have different sponsors, different race directors, but I like the idea that was floated maybe 10 years ago now, basically, when you had, especially for the spring, when you had Boston and London, make it all the women are in Boston this year, the men are in London this year, and then you flip it the next year. So that way you're getting no diluted fields. All the best in the world are running for one gender at each marathon, and then you would switch it. It'd be a little more difficult in the fall because you got Berlin and you have Chicago and you have New York, and then you also have Tokyo hanging out there as well too. But the one thing I think about with Katani's career is I wish she had one last race. I wish she had a chance for a proper send off because she had this this injury that came up, so she got to run again in 2019, where she got fifth in London. Then she went on and ran in New York, but she never really got the true proper send off. We're losing Gordon here on the other side. So just to reiterate that point, we never got Katani just fully in her. Hey, this is my last race. I'm I'm saying goodbye to the sport, and that's what happens when you have injuries, right? Injuries are going to dictate the timetable more than you'd like. You don't want to say goodbye on somebody else's terms. Um, on terms of an injury, excuse me, but you have to listen to your body at that point. So kind of a surprise to see the news because I did think we'd get at least one more, but her career has been sensational. So Mary Kitani, Gordon, you're back.
I'm back. Sorry. Had to get the door. There's a man coming into our house today to fix our hardwood floors.
There
So
you go.
I had to get the
There you
door.
go. All right. Well,
But
we'll
yeah,
move
Mary
on now.
Katani, great legend.
There you go. We'll move on now to Berlin, which is this weekend, Sunday. It's the first World Marathon, a major of the fall. And by fall, I mean basically all of 2021 because they're all going to be packed in tight to this schedule. The story here is Kenny Sabikele. He's the biggest name in the men's and the women's field. His last completed marathon came in Berlin when he ran the 201:41. Remember, just missed the world record there. He's 39 years old now, though. Didn't get selected for the Ethiopian team. He's kind of hard to figure out, right? Because of all the DNFs, all the DNSs. I think it was David Monti who had that great stat where his completion percentage is basically 50% in terms of races that he says he's going to run and then races that he completes. He's going to do the New York Berlin double. That's his goal. Do you think, Gordon, he's the big favorite here? Odola has the second fastest time, but it's been a couple of years since he's put out a performance near that level. Ilya Kiptanui, I mean, I don't think most people would put him in Bekele's league if the two were anywhere close to their best. Do you see Bekele as having one last little push here, or is his best marathon performance like way in the rearview mirror at this point?
I mean, you started off the segment with the stat line that I think is the most important is he's 39, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it gets harder and harder as you get older and older. Um, it's the last time, I mean, he ran like a good marathon was 2019, but when you look at it again, you're like, wait, 2019 wasn't last year. We had a whole pandemic in between. It's been 2 years, right? So you have to think I mean, it's one of those things in sports, right? Where it's always hard to kind of predict when like father time actually matters, right? You always
Mhm.
think age, oh, age, you're not ready, and then they still go on, or like you think they're fine, and then all of a sudden they're off a cliff, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you either are Tom Brady and you're going to be good till you're 50, or you are, I'm trying to think of an athlete who kind of fell off the cliff as soon as they got old. um, Albert Pujols, who just like sucks now for the past 5 years because he's old. Um, I think so. It's hard to always predict because they could go one way or the other. I think with Bekele, I mean, the one advantage he does have is that while he is old, it's not like he's being overrun, right? You run the marathon, you're not like killing your
Mhm.
body so much throughout an entire year. You can take, you have segments of training and then you kind of have
Yeah.
down segments and like hard segments. So you're able to kind of preserve your best for certain moments. Like you kind of can like
Right.
bundle up all that energy to one race and save it all up for another one. So I think he's going to be competitive. The idea that he's going to break the world record, I think, is just kind of crazy to think because I think
Mhm.
a 39-year-old being the fastest person to ever do it just doesn't make sense in my brain. I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but like you
Yeah.
think it's going to be like a 30-year-old, someone in their prime. But hey, I'm always proven wrong in
Mhm.
multiple ways. So I could see it. Why not? But I also could see him really not being the 201 guy that we think he is and being more of like a competitive 204, 205 with the rest of the field kind of coming in to kind of challenge him.
Yeah. But the 201 was such a shock. He got all this hype going into every single marathon because of what he had done on the track, and he'd run a 203 low, but he had just as many scratches or DNFs as he had great performances. And so the 201 made people think, okay, well, why would I ever doubt this guy? Look at how fast he was on the track. Look at how many gold medals he has. But the point in terms of his consistency remains the same, which makes you appreciate what Kipchoge does even more. Put aside the PRs, he hasn't DNF'd in a marathon, right? He hasn't scratched a marathon since he's started. And Bekele, even look at last year in London, right? We all were hyped for Bekele, Kipchoge. He's there. He does the press conference, and then day before, hours before, he's gone. And that's just and the reaction to that was okay, that makes sense because we become accustomed to that. The thing with the thing with Bekele is if he starts the race, you feel pretty good, and then every mile that passes, you're like, all right, all right, all right, because he seems like the type of runner who's unless he's 100% prepped, he's not going to run the race, and unless he's 100% in the race, feeling good about where he's going to finish, he's not going to finish the race. So this would be a weird thing to try to predict. Hey, if he finishes, it's going to be a great time, but there's a huge probability he may not finish, or heck, he may not even start. So he's entertaining in that perspective. Just like guessing what sort of shape he's going to be in is, I think, tells you 95% about his potential uh, time on that day. But I agree with you. I mean, running faster than he would in 2019, where he had at least a little bit better of a buildup, and he was 2 years younger, would be shocking.
With all of his DNSs and DNFs, I wonder what his contract, appearance fee contract language is like. Like how he, if he, do you think he gets any type of money when he DNSs or DNFs? Probably more when you DNF because you actually
DNF,
showed
yeah,
up.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like a DNS, do you think all of his appearance fee is just waived?
I mean, maybe there's a little like 6 point font at the bottom of the contract that just says all sorts of stuff that gets him some money. Because a lot of times, like in London, he shows up, he's there, he's ready to go. He does the press conference. He helps hype the race. Maybe gets a
Exactly. Yeah.
percentage. Maybe there's a DNF clause, like however many days out you scratch from the race, like you get a little extra money if you wait until the hours before. It's more frustrating from a fan's perspective. You'd rather have a person drop out 2 weeks before than 2 hours before, but it builds hype in the race, and then you get to the race day and it's like, oh, he's not on the start line. Well, I'm already watching. I might as well watch. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's 100% frustrating. Maybe someone will emerge on the women's side. The women's field is not as you know. I, even the men's field's not that laden with stars. It's the Bekele show here. on on the men's side. So that's the main thing to watch for in Berlin. We can pull up the women's entries real quick if we can. Do we have those down there? Yeah. So you see we have one sub 220 there from Highwatt, Gebri Kaden, and then three women at 220. So maybe someone will emerge here. The course is fast. Perhaps we could see a quick time, but all eyes will be on Kennedy Sibikele, as has been the tradition for the past several years now in the marathon.
And if you live in Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, you can watch this race live on FloTrack at
Yeah.
3 a.m. Central Time. But if you're on European time, it's a lot normal. So people in the UK and Ireland, it's going to be a normal viewing time experience because it'll just be morning. So
Also, more track. Great Manchester Run, Gordon, is
yeah,
live on FloTrack. You have Ailish McColgan in there. Mark Scott will be back to try to do the Great North Run, Great Manchester Run double. The Great Double. Pretty
the
historic.
great double run.
Uh,
There you go.
the Great Double. Nagy, Abdi Nagy, who was a silver medalist in the Tokyo Olympics, will be in there as well. So that is the Great Manchester Run is 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers. So you'd think Mark Scott will do even better at this. If he
Yeah.
does well in the half marathon, he'll do even better. So that's on Sunday as well. Where's that? Can we pull that up? Where's that available in? Or do you know, Gordon, off the top of your head?
That's available in the US, Canada, and Australia.
There you go. There you go. And that
Yeah.
starts at 11:15 a.m. local time in the UK, middle of the night here in the United
Not
States. So it's a
really,
great
actually. It's
man.
more 6 a.m. It's 6 a.m. because it's a later start. They start around
Oh,
11.
6 a.m.
So it'll be 6 a.m.
See,
Eastern. Yeah.
my mind kind of defaults to Pacific time because that's where I spent most of my life. So I just assume if things are in Europe, it's in the middle of the night. But Central Time, get those 2 extra hours. The difference between 4 and 6, huge, huge, Gordon.
Huge.
Massive difference between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Some say it's an even bigger difference between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Because 3 a.m. to me is the middle of the night. 5 a.m. is like, I've woken up a lot at 5 a.m. How
Would you
many
say the
times have you set
difference
your.
as a dad, do you think the difference between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. is like the dramatic difference between a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old?
Ooh, that's a good. Ask me that tomorrow because I'll have a 6-year-old tomorrow. Today I have a 5-year and 364-day-year-old. His birthday's tomorrow. So I'll be able to comment with more authority tomorrow. I've never had a 6-year-old
Okay.
yet,
Yet.
but tomorrow I will.
The plan
Okay,
is tomorrow to
let's
have
move
one.
on. Yep, yep. The old September 23rd. Yep, I got that right. Don't want to get my son's birthday wrong on the show. Got it correct. Let's keep it moving here. He's a big fan. He watches on YouTube, Pokemon and the FloTrack podcast and the NCAA cross country show. His three
There you go.
favorite things to check out.
Big three.
Oh, Shalane Flanagan. Gordon, Shalane Flanagan is retired, but she's going to be doing a lot of running this fall. Her plan is to run 6 marathons over the course of 7 weeks. 5 of them are marathon majors: Berlin on September 26th, London October 3rd, Chicago October 10th, Boston October 11th, New York City November the 7th. She had Tokyo in there. Tokyo got canceled, so it's supposed to be 6 and 7 weeks. She said she's looking for a replacement. She wants to run under 3 hours. We all deal with retirement differently. Some of us take it easy, but other people, like Shalane Flanagan, actually race more in retirement than they did when they're competing. My quads are aching just thinking about this.
So a couple of questions. Like, what do you think inspired her to want to do this in the first place? I mean, I'm assuming there's some Nike connection, like her sponsorship is encouraging her and all that, but you know,
So there's this
what do you
weird
think she's
thing.
like wakes up one day and is like, I want to do them all? Like, what do you think motivates her to like be like, I need to do all these at once?
Maybe because I'm sensing a pattern here with a couple other people who are retired or at the end of their career. And I'm thinking Ryan Hall, when Ryan Hall decided to run 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. and then that was the end of his career. And even though Des Linden is still active when she ran the 50K race, it seems like when you get late on your career or get to end of your career, you want to sort of break out of the constraints of the traditional schedule. And you've always, if you're a marathoner, you've always been like spring and then fall and then spring and the fall. Maybe it just feels good to be like, hey, I'm gonna throw caution to wind. Who says I can't run marathons on back-to-back days? Which is what Flanagan's trying to do. Uh, Hall was a little bit more extreme because when you're going and doing 7 in 7 days on 7 continents, the travel alone will will really take a lot out of you. But I think to answer your question, I think part of the motivation is just to see what's possible in a different area of the sport because this is not something that was ever measured for her during her career. It was all about wins and fast times. This is more about, hey, let's just pile up these races. Let's see how much I can push my body over these couple months.
Yeah, also add to that list, Des Linden also did that month-long marathon challenge where she ran a
Yeah.
mile the first day, 2 miles the second day, 3 miles the third day, and so long all the way up to 26 miles on the 26th day. So yeah, there's something about like doing these extreme challenges. I mean, it reminds me of Eddie Izzard. Have you heard about what he did? Where the
Remind me.
marathons? So Eddie Izzard, famous comedian, ran 29 marathons in 29 days. But like it's not but like this is like
Yeah.
beyond. So he does it all the time. 2009, it was 43 marathons in 51 days. In 2016, 27 in 27 days. In 2020, it was 29 in 29 days. Another time it's been 32 marathons in 31 days.
Jeez.
So doing it for charity, but
Yeah. And listen, you probably get more people paying attention to whatever it is you're doing with some of these extreme challenges versus, hey, I'm gonna like if Shalane Flanagan said, I'm coming back and I'm gonna try to run under 230 or 225 in Chicago, we'd all be like, whoa, emergency pod, let's go. But most people, who aren't aware of times and her stature would be like, okay, cool. But then when you throw out the headline of, oh, we're gonna have all the marathon majors in 7 weeks, and she's going to run Boston and Chicago and Boston. Excuse me. Don't go to Boston first. There won't be a race that day, and it'll screw up your entire plan, Shalane. Do not do that. Um, it just grabs it just grabs people's attention because just the sheer audacity of it, the sheer, people think, well, man, I can't run one marathon. She's going to run two in back to back days. Like I think it hooks people in a way that just running one marathon really, really quickly doesn't. I mean, the goal is sub 3 in all of these. I think it's clear that the biggest challenge will be that Boston marathon day. Tokyo was going to be that same week. So it was going to go um, Chicago, then the next day Boston, and the following weekend Tokyo, which would have been tough too with all the travel. But that's been canceled. So she said she's looking for a sixth one. So she's not giving herself any outs. She's like, I said I was going to do 6 and 7. I'm doing 6 and 7, even though one was canceled. So hey, if you're a small city marathon that wants to get some buzz, like you should have your if and you're in late October or mid October, you should be reaching out to Shalane Flanagan and say, hey, we can be what marathon uh, 5 of 6 for you in your challenge.
yeah, I mean, there's Amsterdam, Paris, Rotterdam, and she could be really crazy and do Stockholm, which is on the Saturday before Chicago. So she could go Stockholm, fly to Chicago, do Chicago on Sunday, fly to Boston, do Boston on a Monday.
Oh,
So, what do you think she runs the Boston Marathon in? Coming off of assuming a 250 ish marathon in Chicago.
yeah, that's gonna be hard. She loves Boston, right? It's her home. She always had a deep connection to that race. That'll be the biggest challenge. Hopefully the weather cooperates for her. I think she'll slide under. I think she's gonna be real smart. Like in Chicago, she's gonna treat that basically like a prelim round of a 1500. She's just gonna cruise through, get the big Q, qualify through, and move on. I'll say Boston 2:57.
And then I was thinking, like, she hasn't been training, right? For the past, when's the last race been?
18. Oh, I'm guessing
18?
she's well, she hasn't been racing, but I'm sure she's been training. She's been
Yeah.
running. She runs with the athletes she coaches. I'm sure.
But,
It's
like,
just it's a different type of training now.
yeah.
Basically, has she been running a whole bunch of miles? Doesn't need to be doing much speed at all because she's just trying to break through. But has she just been running a whole bunch of miles? That's the question. I'm
Yeah.
sure, and the answer is yes.
Like, you think she's been doing, like, 80-mile weeks?
Well, she's about to do a 52-mile 2 day, so I'd hope she's doing at least 80-mile weeks. Yes, I think, I think she's been running mileage wise probably pretty high, and like if you have a 221 PB, which she does, and just recently as a couple years ago, she was running mid 220s. How much is it really taken out of you to run a 2:59 marathon on a fast course? So, for example, Berlin, right? She's run Berlin before in 2:21. She's got to be, obviously you can't take the distance for granted. You got to be in some kind of shape out there, but she could be way scaled down and still cruise through, I think.
I guess so. We'll see. I'm excited.
Dude,
It'll be cool.
what's gonna be awesome is you're gonna look at her results page, her Tila Stapaya page. 2019 is gonna say nothing. 2020 is gonna say nothing. The first half of 2021 is gonna say nothing, and then the back half of 2021 there's gonna be like 6 results. It's gonna be really weird.
She's like, "Oh, she's
Am I the only
back."
am I the only one who thinks about that?
Anthony J commented on YouTube, would have thought that was too much stress on the body, but hey, what do I know? You know?
Well, here's the other
Yeah.
part of it. You're asking why do people do this after? Well, they don't want to do it but during because the risk, right? Because there is a risk that that
Yeah.
happens. But say she gets halfway through and she has an injury, right? She still went for it. She still tried.
Yeah.
There's not an Olympic
She didn't
team
lose
hanging in the
anything. Yeah.
balance. Yeah, there's not a bunch of money that she's losing out on. And she'll be fine. She can recover back and try to do something different in 2022. It's just I think people that are that competitive and that good want to pursue their own limits, and they've probably, to use the Ryan Hall example, like he pursued the limit of how fast he could go in the marathon. Plenty, Flanagan pursued how fast she could go in the marathon. Plenty, but she never got to test herself in this way, and that's what this is. This is about because I can see.
Also,
Okay, I'm gonna run a whole bunch of marathons, but back to back is crazy. It's just crazy.
think about this. How many young female American women out there, female American women, repeating myself, who kind of idolized Shalane Flanagan when they were kids or when they were in high
Mhm.
school or college or whatever. And now they're like, running marathons, are
Yeah,
going to be able to say, hey, I beat Shalane Flanagan at the Chicago Marathon, or hey, I beat Shalane Flanagan at the Boston Marathon or at the New York City Marathon, because
ah,
there's gonna be a lot of women out there who are gonna be able to say they beat Shalane Flanagan because she's gonna go out there and run like 2:55. There's a lot of
yeah.
women out there who run in the 2:40s, so uh, it's gonna be like an
I'm
interesting thing that women will have.
I'm thinking of one in particular who's gonna get her coming off of the second day of her double,
Yeah,
right? In
Boston
Boston?
Marathon women, they're gonna have a lot of they're
Yeah.
going up against
You
a weakened Shalane, right? They
you
know,
got
like,
it.
this is their time to get her.
Jojo, you gotta get that win. You gotta get that win. Did I ever tell you
Head to
my
head results, 1-0.
did I ever tell you my story of this is kind of similar, uh, but it was an even bigger L that I took against Lauren Fleshman.
No.
I was running a road race in Santa Monica, and the 5K was before the 10K. I ran the 10K. Fleshman won the 5K, obviously, and then jumped in the 10K just to do a tempo run, like right after. Like the finish line was like right there. And then I look around, I'm like, wait a minute, she just was running. Why is she in this thing? And she torched me in the last 2 miles.
Did you, like, try to stick on her shoulder the entire time? You're like, "I'm gonna get you."
I tried, yeah, I was trying to beat everybody, and it was not going to happen for me the last couple miles. But she was just running. it was purely like tempo. You could tell like she was definitely not going for it the way she was in the 5K. It was like the race and then the post race workout, but the post race workout just happened to be in this road race, which is weird because right because usually road races like they all leave kind of at the same time and then go. So it's just weird that she popped over and torched most of us. So
I might have said,
maybe Flanagan can do something different or do something similar.
yeah, my story like that. I might have told this on the pod. I don't know. We've done
This
350 of these things,
is the
but
Manzano story.
yeah, Manzano in college. I was in a DMR. I was the 800-meter leg going into my last lap indoors. However, Texas was going into their first lap of the 1600 leg. And so I was running my final 200, and Leo Manzano was running his first 200 of his 16. And he
Yeah.
wanted to pass me, and I did not let him pass me. I held on. I ran that 29-second final 200 to not let Leo Manzano pass me, and I felt like I achieved something. And then I realized, well, he's just going to keep that pace going for another 7 laps, and I was dead. So
And that was that. All right, two more stories. We'll do Bolt and Sha'Carri, and then we'll do emails. By the way, we got an email mid show about Cougars v Wolves, which we'll read at the end.
nice,
That's someone who's quick on the trigger to get the email sent off there. All right, so there's this New York Post story where they had an interview with Usain Bolt talking about Sha'Carri Richardson, and basically the headline is a bit misleading because he does say train more, but as you can see, the quotation marks don't extend to and talk less. That was sort of added there, right? So Usain Bolt's advice for Sha'Carri Richardson: talk less, train harder. He didn't put those two things. If you look at the actual quotes here, zoom in on that third paragraph, fourth paragraph there, Travis says, I would tell Sha'Carri to train harder and to be focused and not say too much. If you talk that big talk, you have to back it up. So just train hard and focus on that and try to come back, do it, and then talk about it. So he didn't actually use the phrase train harder, talk less. So want to clarify that point. But I did want to bring up two things. Number one, Gordon, it was just a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago, when Bolt was quoted as saying she brings spice to track and field. So I don't know what changed from Bolt's opinion. He went to be like, hey, this is amazing. This is great for the sport, to now giving advice. Two, and I know that it wasn't the direct quote here, but the whole idea of train more, talk less has always been funny to me in any sport, right? You have 24 hours in a day. Let's say you sleep for 10 of them because you're an elite athlete. You got that's 14. Say you train for 5 of them. That leaves you 9 hours to talk all you want. You can be tweeting so much in 9 hours. The idea that you can't do both, the idea that somehow giving an interview or posting on social media is somehow inhibiting your ability to train. Like, I was going to do an extra set of 200s, but I got to go check my Instagram comments. So I'm not going to do those today. I always thought that was silly that people thought that way in sports. You can say, hey, shouldn't talk at all because you're going to motivate your competitors. All right. I disagree with that. But you can have that opinion. But the idea that there's this binary choice between you can either talk trash or train and you can't do both is comical to me.
yeah. I mean, the idea that you shouldn't talk too, that you should only train, is why the sport isn't as popular. Because if no one is talking and everyone is just busy training in a black box with no one around and no one to
Yeah.
see, what are we doing here? What type of sport is this? Like, we want to see people. We want to see people win. We want to see people lose. We want to see people overachieve. We want to see people underachieve because people flop, people upset. It's all part of watching competition. So I was just thinking about this. What if this is my Galaxy Brain hat, putting on my Galaxy Brain hat right now?
Hmm.
What if this whole post Olympics that Sha'Carri has been doing with, getting dead last in pre, still talking all of her shit, going on to Europe and not running well there, still talking shit. Meanwhile, the Jamaicans are just kind of laughing it up. Is like they finally got their moment to kind of shut her up, quote, because they beat her head to head. And obviously, what Elaine and Shelly-Ann and Sharika are doing is amazing. But what if Sha'Carri actually secretly is in good shape and is running ability to run a 10.7 and a 10.6 in a perfect situation. And she is just sandbagging the
Mm,
2021 Diamond League season because she recognized, hey, winning these races means shit. I'm still gonna be like valuable, famous, regardless if I win or lose. So if I lose, that's gonna give the Jamaicans a thought that I don't have it anymore, and that in
mm.
2022 they're gonna come in
Wow,
little underrating me because they're going to think, well, she sucks now because we beat her in pre. So therefore, when
interesting.
she's back in Eugene and back racing them, she's going to catch them by surprise and beat them. She's like, kind of doing a little rope a dope. It's like
Mm.
that meme of that old man who is getting like hijacked at the car, and he's like, oh, I'm hurt. And then he pulls up a gun and points it at the person. Not today. I feel like maybe Sha'Carri is
Wow.
pulling a little not today, where she's having a shitty 2021 summer to kind of surprise the competition in 2022. Thoughts?
That's Gordon's Galaxy Brain take of the day. We need to get you a special like shirt or like a hat or something that you put on when you go with the Galaxy Brain take. Yeah, no, I don't think that's accurate at all. Here's what Bolt could have said, or what you could have said. The reason she got beat was because she's running against two of the best of all time, and they're just better than her right now. Right? Like that's the answer here. I know it's a
No, that's
lukewarm
not the
take,
answer.
and it's not
Because she
Galaxy
got beat
Brain.
by. That's not
True,
the answer.
true, true. You're saying like she still should have gotten third in those races, and she was getting eighth.
Yeah.
I get that point. This is more a response to what Bolt is saying, or to anybody out there who thinks because you tweet it makes you slower somehow. It doesn't. If you run against someone who runs 10:54, you're gonna get beat unless you were FloJo at one race in the Olympic trials in 1988. That's it. Like if you're running at Shelly and Fraser Price and Elaine Thompson Raw, it's not going to go very well in 2021. That's just been the reality of it. So I know it's not a hot take. It's lukewarm at best, but you people can dissect all the different angles about why she ran what when. But I think that's the bottom line here. Did you watch this interview, by the way? The Bolt interview?
No, it's a video
Okay.
interview.
So there's a video interview embedded on the top. It is uh, interesting to say the least because the interviewer asks Bolt, if you were to recommend a playlist for Sha'Carri, what would it be? What do you think Bolt says? What type of music do you think he recommends?
Caribbean music. Oh no, does he
No.
recommend his song?
Yeah, his album. His album.
Oh
So
yeah.
it became very clear to me at this point why the interview was granted and the conditions of the interview. And hey, we've all been there before.
Great song.
Because they basically the interviewer had to shoehorn in this question so he could plug his album. So then he starts talking about how she would like this song or that song in his album. So he got the plug for the record out there as well too. But I don't know why if you're interviewing, like if I was like, hey, Gordon, what's producer Colt? What sort of music do you think we could get him to listen to make him a better producer? Like I don't think that would like no one's mind goes along that track.
So did Sha'Carri tweet any like response? Did she like react to this headline?
I did not see any, and I know she has no basically limits. There's nobody off limits to her, but I think Bolt might be the one
Maybe Bolt
person.
is that person who's off limits.
Maybe there is, maybe there is one person off limits, and it would be Usain Bolt. And again, he wasn't being like I actually, like I said, I actually watched the interview, and he was being typical Bolt here, where he was trying to be uh I want to say I want to say see both sides to everything, right? I mean, Bolt is like I just think about Bolt, and in the interview he mentions Gatlin talking a lot of crap, which is I mean Gatlin didn't really talk that much crap, but do you remember the last Bolt Gatlin thing at the press conference where Bolt was like defending him basically in the
Yeah.
press conference? Like that's what I remember about Bolt. So I think he kind of tries to avoid conflict in most situations, and he was basically saying, with her, like, hey, yeah, maybe she should talk less, and she'll get less grief and stuff too. But yeah, he did talk about Gatlin was always talking, which I don't. I mean, someone have to
Gatlin
bring up.
literally Gatlin literally bowed down to him after he beat him.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. This is what happened during the Bull era. I said this, I think, on a previous pod. So I apologize if I'm someone knocking on this door. I apologize if I'm repeating myself. But basically what would happen is the US men would run fast at trials or at USA's. A reporter would ask, "You ready to take on the Jamaicans and Usain Bolt?" And the Americans would respond, whoever it was, would be like, "Yeah, we're not afraid of anybody." And then the headline would be, "Americans not afraid of Bolt." And then Bolt would say, "Oh, really? Why aren't you afraid of me? I'm the world record holder. I got all these gold medals." But it's completely manufactured. Nobody ever thought Bolt. The only time Bolt was under pressure was 15 when Gatlin was having that amazing season. And to Bolt's credit, he pulled it out. And then obviously that last championship there in 17. But no other time were people questioning Bolt because there's just a level you can't talk trash to somebody who's that much better than you and that much of an icon in the sport. It just falls flat. So yeah, literally people are bowing down to him.
Should we get into some emails?
Yeah, I think there was one other. I forgot what else I was going to say. Oh, he says, speaking of not wanting to be controversial, they ask him about the marijuana rule, and he's like, "It's not my place to say." And I thought, you know what? You're retired, man. You can have an opinion on this. You're not alienating anybody. And then he went into the rules are rules thing, and I was like, man, if Gordon heard you say rules are rules, you saying he would be very disappointed with you. I just thought it was. I, he clearly has an opinion about it. So when he says, I don't really want to say, and you just need to follow the rules," I think he wasn't being entirely forthcoming, but I think he's been conditioned to just kind of stay middle of the road on
No
everything like that.
comment. Yeah, just kind of be like be
Yeah, but I
Switzerland
mean,
on
you're
the topic.
retired.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, if you polled, this is the last thing, and then we'll get off. If you polled athletes, do you think marijuana should be on the ban list, even if they don't use it or don't use it? Is regardless. What percent do you think would be in favor of keeping it versus not keeping it?
I mean, I think people in favor of keeping it would be like 5%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think most
General
most
public,
athletes don't care. Yeah, I think
general
it's
public
similar.
would be like 20% tops, maybe 15 or something.
Well, general public, there'll be people who just don't understand. They'll be like, "Oh, I feel like it's a bad thing," you know.
Yeah,
But I feel like the athletes would recognize, like, I know what the bad stuff is. It's called HGH. It's called
yeah,
testosterone. It's
yeah.
called blood
So
doping. It's not
my
a doobie.
my all right, Grandpa. So basically, what I'm saying is, he didn't really risk alienating anybody. He should have been like, yeah, she should have followed the rule, but the rule should be changed. It's ridiculous that marijuana is banned because it would be. I think it would be really strange for him not to have that opinion. Like, I don't think there's many athletes, as you said, maybe 5% of athletes out there who are like, I'm gonna really put my flag in the ground. Marijuana should be banned. We need to clean up the sport, and my cause is marijuana. Get it out of the sport. It's causing issues. Can't have it. Reefer madness. All right. Email, FloTrackPodcast at gmail.com is the email. This is from Wayne 43 minutes ago. Gordon, the answer is that cougars are cats and wolves are dogs. Game over.
Ooh, that is a good point. Dogs are better than cats. That's what science says, right?
I agree, which is making me rethink
However,
my
I think a
opinion about the cougars.
chihuahua versus a lion, even though the chihuahua is a dog, I think that lion wins that.
Can we get a tail of the tape? How much can a cougar bench, do you think? Like, assuming it could lay on its back.
How much do you think a cougar could bench?
Yeah,
First of all, just the visual of seeing an animal benching would be
be amazing.
hilarious. That
Yeah.
would be like a
But
greatest circus act of all time. You can
I feel like a
train
cougar
like
could
a cougar to
bench
bench.
more. Yeah. Like, if there was a decathlon, cougar versus wolf, like, you're taking the cougar, right? Speed and power.
Yeah, but like I'm telling you, it's just something. I think it's kind of like I think a wolf is like a Christian Coleman, and a cougar is like an Usain Bolt. And
Mm-hmm.
that while we know what happened there, right? So Christian Coleman
Yeah.
beat Usain Bolt in 2017, and then went
Yeah.
on to win in
Case
2019. So
closed. Case
case
closed. We
closed.
know that that really answered the question of who's the best sprinter of all time. That was the only championship that ever existed. Oh wow, this stat says the cats are actually more popular than dogs. That's interesting. All right. Well, I disagree on that one. And I think in similar size like matchup, right? Obviously, lion versus chihuahua. You brought up that's the extreme example. But if you have similar, if you're going similar weight classes, I think I'd go dog though too. Although cats are kind of cats are cats got a mean streak in them, you know.
I'm gonna YouTube search Cougar versus Wolf.
See what you come up with.
There's a lot of content. Wolf versus Cougar. Who would win in a fight? Well, this
Okay.
image it looks like the wolf looks a little scarier. Animal Planet did a thing 13 years ago. 13 years ago,
Okay. Good.
called
We're only behind
Animal
13
Face
years.
Off. Wow, this 2008 YouTube baby on Animal
Yeah.
Planet,
How many views?
and it has 4 million views. It's only a 3 minute video. They're showing, and it's basically who would win a fight: Cougar versus Wolf, and they're doing a
All
whole
right.
thing. They're doing the stats. They're showing, but they never show. Okay, oh, they're showing a digital play by play. So the wolf attacks the cougar's back left leg first, then runs
Oh,
away. Here, I'll send the link. Let's hold on. I'm gonna send
it's
this to
intense.
Travis. We got to solve this. So Travis, go to like the 2 minute mark. So this is the BYU versus NC State. We've been waiting to discover, you know. So we'll let
Do you
you
remember
Travis
when?
post it on the screen.
Do you remember when Chris Johnson raced a cheetah? Chris Johnson in the NFL
You mean Chad
on National
Ochocinco?
Geographic.
Oh, that's Chris. No,
No,
it's
no,
Chris Johnson. Oh
Chris
yeah.
Johnson. But he
Who
he
won?
he raced. Well, he raced him on the opposite side of a divider because they couldn't actually put a cheetah out there. So it was. I wanted them on lined up on the starting line together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Travis, I sent it
Um,
to you. Let's see if he's there. You go. If you fast forward to the 2 minute mark, this is gonna be Whitney Orton versus Hannah Steelman, Coach Dilgit Taylor versus
oh,
Ellie
I don't know if it's
Hennis,
loading.
Lori Hennis's. It's taking time to load. Okay. Anyway, I'll fast forward to the story. The long story short, I'm trying to see who won. They're still
Is there a
fighting.
winner?
Ooh, guess who the winner was? The winner was the
Logan
Cougar.
Paul.
No, Logan Paul didn't win. The Cougar won. Cougar defeated the Wolf. So you
Oh
see, they
wow.
do this little digital animation to like kind of see who would win a
Okay.
fight. Wolf gets the
Okay.
first attack. It's
Yeah, but
kind of wild that he runs away.
this is hypothetical though. This is not a
Yeah.
real fight. Okay. Well,
No, it's not a real
listen, Wolf.
fight. It's Animal Planet.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is you don't run races on paper and you don't have digital fights on paper. You got to line them up. You got to get on the track next to each other.
Yeah.
See, but look at how thick the cougar is. Like the arms and the chest and stuff. Like there's just more. It's just dense, man. Oh man. Okay, don't show this. This is just not. Yeah, that's not appropriate for kids. That's just. I'm gonna have nightmares. Last email. Here we go. This is the email we wanted to read. We got 5 minutes to read this. This is from Ken. So he's talking about the Diamond League field event format, right? Where you have the jump off at the end. Everybody knows what that is, right? We're all caught up. Final three.
Yeah,
So
basically through 5 rounds, they take the final three, and then the sixth round, whoever has the best jump in the sixth round is actually your winner.
right. So you could have a better jump overall, better mark, and then lose. He says, in my opinion, it seems ridiculous that a field event performer could set a world record on their first attempt, but lose the competition with a foul on their sixth attempt. This new format seems to try to make the final few attempts more dramatic for the TV audience. If that is the goal, then I suggest the following change to the format. So here's a change, Gordon. And you're a guy who likes to have tweaks and changes. So tell me what you think. Each
Okay.
competitor will take 4 attempts. After the fourth round, only the top three will continue to the fifth round, with prior marks carrying through. The final three will be reordered from third place to first place. After the fifth round, the third place finisher is determined, and only the top two advance to the sixth round. If the placements haven't changed, they're reordered with second place going first in the sixth round. If the second place competitor doesn't surpass the first place competitor, the event is over. If second place moves into the first position after the final attempt, the former first gets one last attempt to capture the event. If the second place athlete doesn't surpass the first place holder on the last attempt, the winner can pass or take one last attempt. This should provide TV broadcasts with the same level of drama as the current stupid format, but with all the marks from the first to the last round counting towards the final placements. What do you think, Gordon?
So basically, it's the same as the original format of where you just get the six best marks, but we are just eliminating people from having opportunities to compete in the fifth and sixth round.
Right, because he's saying if you want to build up the drama, reorder it that way. Reorder it so and then they have fewer people.
But the
I
thing is
guess
here is that if you have a really good jump at the first round, you
you
can
still
just
win.
pass because you know no one's going to pass you,
Yeah,
and there's no
yeah.
drama.
Is that the goal of this? Is to prevent passing in this to ensure that the best people jump in the last round? Is that it?
No, I think that they want. I mean, what people
What
want
problem are
is
they
they
trying to
want the person
solve?
with the they want the person with the best mark to win. That's the whole thing, right? That's what it comes down to.
No, no, no. World. I'm saying, what does World Athletics want? Because they clearly don't want that because they're having people win who don't have the best
World
mark.
Athletics want doesn't like it when you see a guaranteed winner like doing like not having to try because they
Yeah.
know there was no like risk in them losing. You know they don't like seeing blowouts in jumps where like
Mm.
there's no need to like they don't like when like Ryan Krauser can throw 23 meters in the first round and then basically we know why are we having this competition now because we know no one else is going to throw 23 meters.
I think they also
Game's over.
like. I think they also like being able to cut to the long jump for 2 minutes and show that last jump off, and that's it,
Yeah,
right? And then theoretically, you don't need to see anything before that because nothing matters before that. All you
yeah.
need to see is last jump. It's just tough when there's like fouls are such a prevalent part of jumping, and the whole idea is okay. You get a lot of attempts, you just got to get one clean, and then you go down to one attempt, and the chance of fouling are pretty high, or just having a bad jump at that point.
I told
I
you
don't know
my
how you do.
idea.
Remind us one
Turn
more
the
time.
lo- turn the long jump
Oh yeah, yeah.
and the triple jump into the way you and the shot put for that matter into the way you do the high jump and pole vault. You just have a mark, you got to jump over it, and you move on to the next round. And you
But
have
what
to
if you
keep
foul?
jumping. You have two attempts to jump over the mark.
Okay. I suppose you jump pretty safe on the early jumps 'cause you get over it.
Yeah, you like save it. You're like getting your steps down the first few jumps, but but you still record what they jump. If they jump like a meter, if they jump a foot
Yeah.
over the line, you still record it for record purposes. But for you know,
I think you could, if you're going to do this elimination thing, just do it from the beginning. Have a
yeah,
bracket and jump off from the beginning and go one on one. Like you have 8 people, seed them based on season best marks 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, then advance out that way. I mean, it would totally change the competition. But this is not, it's enough of a change to piss people off, but it's not enough of a change to alter your interest level in the event, really.
what flaw do you see in me of them treating the long jump the same way they treat the high jump and the pole vault, where you have a mark, you got to jump over it, move on, mark, and now everyone who jumped over the next mark moves on.
I guess it would depend on how frequently you're eliminating people, like what sort of interval the mark is set at.
You do like a 10 centimeters, I guess. I don't know. Well, you'd figure it out. What like you'd want to make it so on average there's like 6 rounds,
I mean,
right? I mean,
the,
how do
the
they
problem
decide
with
the
it,
pole vault height?
the problem with it is the same problem that I think is legitimate problem kind of in pole vault, which is like when you can't prevent it though in pole vault or high jump. But it's like, man, Mondo cleared the world record there, but he didn't because the bar wasn't high enough. Like you could have people. I guess if you're saying you measure the jump regardless, right? So that would be
Yeah.
different. If you measure the jump regardless, you could still have world record jumps. Listen, I don't think it's as bad of an idea as, or at least it's not that much worse than the current idea. I'd say try it.
There you go. That's a T-shirt. It's not that much worse than the current idea. It's a
Hey,
T-shirt.
that applies to a lot of things in my life right now, Jordan. I'm all for that. Yeah, I guess I'd need to see it like in practice. It'd be fun. You know how in the NBA they experiment with things in the G League and then try them out in the big league? It would be fun if there was a second or third tier circuit or something where they could try some of this stuff. I guess there that does exist in track. It would just be fun to see it in a lower stakes competition first before they throw it like right into the Diamond League. Because then once they do it in the Diamond League, everyone's like, I got this problem, I got that problem, I got this problem. Like if you do it in a lower stakes competition, you can see how it actually plays out and address some of the issues that come up. Like, oh, this is a flaw in the system, or we would need to make this correction. You don't want to do that when it's at the biggest stage. You want to do all that stuff when there's not as much attention on it and the stakes aren't as high.
So I know like the jumpers are upset about this,
Yeah.
but the jumper who was in third place going into the sixth round and
Who
then
won?
won
There's never a
got the
story
best
about
mark.
them.
Do you
Yeah.
think that person's upset? They're like, oh yeah, I'm upset. I won this $10,000. Sorry,
They're
take it
like,
back.
no, the sanctity of the jumps. I could never. I think they would be. Everybody's happy when they win. Everybody's happy when
Yeah.
they win. So yeah, I don't think, I don't think that they, because I think they've gotten used to doing it a certain way all those years, and I think they aren't that comfortable with it either. And it to them, it probably feels a bit random. They'll still take the 10 grand and be like, oh, well, today it was great, but long term, let's change it.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah,
Follow the NCAA Cross Country Show on Tuesdays every week. Kevin's going to
yeah.
start putting up some more content on YouTube as well. We're going to fill
It's a rumor.
your track and field, cross country, road running needs throughout the rest of the year as we get ready
Mm-hmm.
for the road to Hayward, right? That's a new slogan. It was the road to Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's the road to Hayward. We're starting that road.
Mm-hmm.
So
Some people are saying.
that's what some people are saying.
That. Thanks to Colt. Thanks to Travis. Berlin Marathon on Sunday. We'll be back Friday with another edition of the FloTrack podcast. Subscribe. Also, Gordon's show is on the FloTrack YouTube channel. You got to go to the FloTrack YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed over there, subscribe to that one. And on the FloTrack podcast YouTube channel. We will see you on Friday.